I must apologise because I've been stalling something awful. Back in July, I got hold of those rev limiter gauges, but I just haven't had any time. Between the race car build and my 9 to 5 job, sadly, the little MX-5 has been neglected. So, I've got a little bit of time on my hands. I don't have any power, but I've got a little bit of time, and I'm going to see if I can pull it out and get the job done today. Now, the set that I have chosen does require some additional modifications. I actually need to paint the needles, so I've got a couple supplies for that, and I'm going to be doing that as well. So, let's get into it. In order for us to get this cluster off, we need to first remove this trim piece, this cowl around the steering column. Now, it uses a few screws, and we just need to undo those. Then there's a screw on either side here and one on this side, and then the hood will pop off. There are 4 screws in either corner of the gauge cluster, fairly simple. You need to undo 3 plugs and of course the speedometer cable on the NA, and then the whole cluster will come out. There's no need to remove the steering wheel, so that can stay in place. Going to tackle that in the dark. Now, I have had these gauges out several times before because the gauge, well, surround that face plate, this piece over here, actually doesn't have chrome rings on the NA8. It's plain black, but I sourced a gauge cluster from an NA6 because I like those chrome rings so much. I really do hope that they're going to work with the Sunstorm gauges that I've got. Okay, 1 screw out there, just Phillips head screwdrivers, or Phillips head screws, which requires a Phillips head screwdriver. Don't know if that one's required, can't remember now. Right, and then it clips apart. Okay, we can take the top piece out, place that one side. This one has to come over the barrel. Okay, and there's the lower section. Now for the screw over here, and on the opposite side. Alright, this is now the difficult part because so many of these have gotten brittle over the years and many of them will crack when you try and take it off. So you actually just need to try and grip it as comfortably as possible and just pull as straight as possible away from the glass, and hopefully everything stays in one piece. It has these metal clips. Here. One has stayed behind now, so I must make sure that I get that out of there and replace it in here. Okay, dangerous part done. Now we have the 4 screws. There's one over there, one down here, over on the other side over here, and up at the top. Let's get those out. Now, while you've got this out, you can actually get in here and dust and clean a little bit. Trust me, it is worth it. Try and keep the screws in some sort of order. Turning the wheel slightly and putting the indicator on, or the wiper stalk. Well, that gets it out of the way. That'll allow you to get to these screws just a little bit better. Okay, don't forget to switch those off. Now, to undo the plugs at the back. Because I've done this a few times, I kind of know where all these plugs are. One over here. One over here. And then just this last one over here. And also because my Speedo is a little shagged, that kind of just falls out anyway. But there we go, cluster comes out. And here we go, the cluster out. Now we want to separate the rear from the front. And that's held in place with a couple of little tabs here. So you just need to push them down and get them to unclip. If you can get your nails or a small screwdriver in between the black and the white sections, then it helps force them apart and keep them apart. So let's take a small precision screwdriver here. There we go. On that side, just about midway between the two, and you just apply a little bit of pressure and then press down. And there we go, see it separates. We flip it over and we do the same on the underside. Great. Well, that explains many things. That is my whole speedometer cable. Yeah, that's not great. In any case, we can now get the faceplate off. Like I say, I'm rather fond of gauges and clocks and that sort of stuff, so this doesn't particularly scare me too much. Get off of this one. Those wires are now free. There we go, that's all I wanted. I actually don't even think I have that in my car, but it's wired up. We put that one side and holes facing down so that we don't get dust in it. And there is our cluster and our faces. Now, this is the bit where I now start reverting to a little bit of Adam Wolf rev limiter information, because his kit is going to give us the necessary info that we need so that we can remove these without a big problem. Alright, let's dive into the box of goodies, because in there are a set of tools that we will be requiring. And they're in the Hot Wheels bag. Along with a set of gloves we're going to apply because we don't want to get oily marks on our gauge faces. The white LEDs that we will be installing, we can pop those one side. That is an add-on. Those are stoppers and tools. So now it's about prying the needles off the gauge faces. The vehicle has been filled up, so it's sitting at full. I've also taken photos of where the original positions are so they can go back in place. It's not a bad idea to take another reference photo as head on as possible, just above the full mark. These are going to change, so we only really need these two. Alright, and now our pry tools, lightly used. Pop, off it comes. There we go. Let's keep them in an order that makes sense. I know it sounds like I should put dramatic music over this. It's a bit of fiddly bit of work, but nowhere near as fiddly as some of the work that's going to take place. Always just amazed at the detail in these things. Okay, and last one. One fulcrum under there, one under there, and push against the mounting screws, and gentle pressure, and you'll feel it comes loose, and there you see it dipping. That was just turning on the spindle. Alright, happy days. Next step. Okay, screwy time. So we get a nice screwdriver bit that goes in there. Start on one end and work our way down. There's the face alone, and that is now what guides a little bit of light into all the backlighting for that. Face one side. There we go, that plastic stayed behind. It's held in place by 2 pins there, and that face can go down. Change up the angle a little bit just to give you guys a bit of variety so that it doesn't become super boring. Don't get rushed. Take your time. Oh, that's quite a long one, so that's rather important that we know which ones are which. Over the reset pin. There we go, lovely. One down, or one more to go, let's put it that way. We need to free up some space in here so that it's got an even light, because the sunstorm gauges start with a 6 o'clock 0 instead of a 8 o'clock 0. Alright, now we need to remove all of this section here so that we can get some even lighting all the way down to where 12 or 6 o'clock would be on the tacho. If we don't do that, there's going to be this massive dark spot here at night, which is less than ideal. Okay, and this requires a set of tin snips or side cutters. Okay, that all needs to come out, so you can hack away. Would be a lot easier if I wasn't doing this to camera. Just saying. So in other words, we'll be back.
346 minutes later.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, that was a little hairy, scary, but at the same time, you don't need to be too scared about it. We managed to get it all nicely trimmed out. Let's grab one of these. All of this plastic trimmed out here, which is going to allow the light to shine behind. That would have been blocking it. We can revert back once again by putting tubes over those if we go back to the old lights. Old gauges I mean, and regular lighting, but nah, that's about it. Okay, so over here off to the side is a handful of plastic that we clipped out and just dropped back into the cluster. You idiot. Nice thing is it's 90s plastic, so it's A, rather robust, but B, rather brittle, which means that it breaks along the lines that you suggest for it, which when you clip, you can just clip all the way straight down, and then bang, you can just sort of pick and pull it out. I'll try to get it as clean and neat as possible, and I'm pretty happy with that. I think we can change these bulbs now, actually. All right, here we go. Let's pull the plugs out, put the bulbs one side, grab the new bulbs here. Now the niggle is LEDs have a polarity, which means that you could possibly put this in technically upside down. Okay, in you go. So I'm just going to hazard it, and if it doesn't light up when we do a test fit, then, well, I know I need to swing it around 180 degrees. Pull the regular bulb out like this. And as Adam says, it is rather easy when you have the gloves on. You've got a nice grip on the glass of the original bulbs, or in my case, the little green condoms. that are over them. That's all the dark green housing bulbs at the back of the cluster. There are a few black ones, those are turn signals, indicators and the likes. Those don't need to be changed. Wiggly, wiggly, wiggly. Alright, knowing my luck, none of these are going to be the right way around. And I'm going to have to read all of them. But we don't install the entire cluster until that's done. Alright, LEDs are in. Blow that out a little bit, and we move on to our next step, which is going to be... Okay, so 3 needle stoppers there. Let's get these gauge faces out. Man, doesn't that look good? Wait. Okay. Poke the needle stopper through the gauge, and we're possibly going to have to just hold that in place with a little bit of tape. So let's go and get a little bit of tape. I'm touching the face, you idiot. Okay, and that one has that cradle. Okay, now we need the little washers. So these little washers just help cushion on the against the face, the screws against the face. So we grab a screw, we grab a washer, there's a little rubber one. Place it like that. Pick up another washer. Grab a stick. When you notice dust on the new gauges. Okay, let's just get this. Down ever so slightly, ever so lightly. Now these require a lot less pressure now. There we go. See, this one also gets a 6 o'clock 0. Men or men that is sexy. Okay, remember the Speedo was a long screw, 2 long screws. So I'm amazed at the quality of all of this. I mean, keep my hands out the way and then you can enjoy. Snug. Snug. Oh, now I'm getting OCD about the orientation of the screws. Yeah. Okay, that is in place. Okay, let's go to the next one. Nice little jobs like this are actually rather therapeutic. Test your concentration. I hope I'm not getting my head in the way here. They just keep you concentrated and focused on something. So if you're having a bit of a bad day and you're like, I'm not ready to do the rev limiter gauge install, do it. It's cathartic. Temperature is far right. That's what they're going to look like. But, of course, needles are next. So the speedometer is self-zeroing. Fun times. And the only one that is self-zeroing. Okay, I should be able to put most of these back on just reading there carefully because I did fill the tank. So I know where this gauge is supposed to be pointed. But I may have turned it, so let me plug this in, check the lighting, and we'll be back.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
So we're scraping off the paint off the back of the needle, just so we can give it a coat of red, because, well, a white needle against a yellow face, well, not very visible now, is it? Model paint. Acrylic model paint. Let's see if I can do this without completely cocking it up. Okay, so you just watched me completely pooch it, but there are the red needles, or red needle, only one. Yeah, a little bit of a faff. Hopefully that's in the where you guys can see it. But yeah, let that dry, and then we're going to go and pop it on. The lighting has been restored, so once we've got that up and running, then we'll pull the cluster out again, clean everything up, and pop the hood, or the front section of it, the face glass surround section. We'll pop that on it when we're done. So let's just give this a few moments, and then we'll be good to go, ready to rock and roll. What we need to do for this one is we need to start the vehicle, start the car, and once the idling is settled, few seconds, then we just set it at about 900 RPM. That's sort of where it idles anyway. So should be fairly accurate from there. We don't have an aftermarket ECU just yet. Afterwards we'll be able to set it and adjust it accordingly. We'll be able to see if we're out and alter it from there, let's put it that way. Righto, all clipped together, and that's it. Sunstorm gauge set, very Italian in its approach. Let's go and get it back in the car.